You ever wonder what really makes a country rich? It's a massive question, right? And for a long time, the answer just felt incomplete. Well, today we're diving into the work of Nicholas Kaldor, an economist who found a huge missing piece of that puzzle, and honestly, he changed how we think about economic growth forever. So let's start with that big question. What is the true engine of an economy? I mean, is it as simple as just saving money and building more factories? Or is there something else, a kind of hidden engine, that's really driving all the progress? This was the exact puzzle that Nicholas Kaldor was absolutely determined to solve. You see, for decades, economists thought they had the main ingredients for growth figured out, saving and investment. But there was this third, kind of mysterious element, technology. In all their models, it was treated like a magic wand. It just sort of appeared out of thin air, gave the economy a boost, and nobody could really explain how or why. They knew it was critical, but where it came from was a complete black box. All right, so here's our game plan for unpacking Kaldor's big idea. First, we're going to look at that missing puzzle piece. Then, we'll get into his core concept and see how the model actually works. After that, we'll throw in a real-world complication, a growing population, before we wrap up with the final verdict on his legacy. Let's get right into it. Okay, so let's start with that central problem. Early models for economic growth had this gaping hole in them. And that hole was shaped exactly like technology. So here is the fundamental shift in thinking. The old view treated technology as what economists call exogenous, basically a random gift that just showed up from outside the economy. But Kaldor's big breakthrough was to see it as endogenous. He argued it isn't magic at all. It's a direct product of what's happening inside the economy. More specifically, it's born from the act of investment itself. And that right there was a total game changer. And this brings us right to Kaldor's groundbreaking idea. He wanted to build a model that finally connected the dots, a model where investing in new stuff, machinery, factories, infrastructure, was directly linked to creating new technology. And this is it. This is the engine room of Kaldor's entire model, the technical progress function. It's a really simple but powerful idea. The rate at which you grow your productivity, your efficiency, is directly tied to the rate at which you invest in new capital. Just think about it. When a factory buys a new, fancy robot, it isn't just getting another machine. It's buying the latest software, the newest designs, the most modern efficiencies. In Kaldor's world, investment and innovation are basically two sides of the very same coin. This graph right here shows that idea in action. So the more you invest per worker, that's moving to the right on the bottom axis, the more your output grows, which is moving up on the side axis. But look closely. See how the curve starts to flatten out? That shows that your first investments give you this huge boost, but eventually you start getting diminishing returns. The economy is always trying to find that sweet spot, right there at point P, where growth becomes stable and balanced. It's the natural equilibrium. Okay, so how does this one idea build into a full model of the economy? Well, let's start with a simple case, just to see the core mechanics clearly. Let's imagine a world where the population is completely stable. Now, every economic model needs some ground rules to work. For Kaldor, he assumed a few things, like a fully employed economy and that new investment is the #1 driver of tech. But here's the really crucial one. He split all income into two buckets, wages for workers and profits for business owners. And he assumed that the people earning profits save a much higher chunk of their income than the people earning wages. This difference in who saves what becomes a super important lever in the whole model. So how does the economy manage to stay on track? This graph shows its amazing, self-correcting nature. Let's say the economy is over at point G1, where income is actually growing faster than investment is. Well, what happens next? That boom in income encourages more investment, which then pushes us up the curve toward G2 and then G3 until we naturally settle right there at point G. At this steady state, everything is perfectly in balance. Income and capital are growing at the exact same stable rate. Kaldor actually had a great name for this internal engine of growth. He called it technical dynamism. And this isn't just about piling up capital or savings. It's about the flow of new ideas into the economy. And, this is the key part, the system's readiness and ability to absorb them through new investment. This is the force that's constantly pushing the economy toward that balanced, steady growth path. Okay, a stable population is a nice, neat way to simplify things, but let's be honest, the real world is a lot messier. What happens when you start adding more people into the mix every single year? This is where the model gets really interesting, especially if you want to understand the challenges facing developing nations. This slide really tells a tale of two different economies. On the left, you've got a developed nation, And on the right, a developing one. See how the growth curve on the right is so much lower? Well, that's because when a population is growing super fast, you have to spread your investment much, much thinner. It becomes incredibly hard to increase the amount of capital for each worker, and that acts like an anchor, just weighing down the whole country's potential for growth. And this leads to a really critical problem. For some developing nations, they have to invest heavily, just to stay in the same place. All that new investment just gets soaked up by equipping all the new workers who join the labor force each year. There's nothing left over to actually make everyone else more productive. And if you can't invest faster than your population is growing, you risk getting completely stuck, trapped in stagnation. So, after all that, what's the final verdict on Kaldor's model? Look, it was a huge step forward, no doubt about it. But like any model, it's not perfect. So let's take a balanced look at its contributions and, its limitations. So where does this model stand today? Well, its greatest strength is making technology an insider in the growth story, tying it directly to investment. And it gives us a really good explanation for why economies seem to find a stable, steady path of growth. But it definitely has weaknesses. For one, it doesn't actually predict the rate of growth, how fast it will be. And it kind of overlooks what economists call disembodied progress. Innovations like better management strategies or new software that boost productivity without needing a brand new machine. But, in the end, I think it's best to let Kaldor himself have the last word. This quote just perfectly captures his core message. He argued that the real engine of growth wasn't just piling up money or machines. No, the ultimate factor was this incredible concept of technical dynamism, that endless flow of new ideas, and an economy's ability to actually put them to work. And that brings us right back to today. Because if Kaldor's central idea is correct, that our investment choices today literally create the technology of tomorrow, it poses a huge question for all of us. What should we be building right now to secure the growth of the future? Is it AI? Is it green energy? Or is it something else entirely? It's a lot to think about. Thanks for joining me for this one.